All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all honor, glory, and praises to Yahweh Ba'ashim Yahushai, Ba'ashim Rakal Kadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, and much love to you brothers out there preaching the truth and sincerity. It's the brother Azariah with the Pittsburgh GMS camp, and just want to go over the second beast of Daniel. Daniel 7 is a lot of meat. You gotta go through it. Salakia. Turn this phone down a little bit. All right. Yeah, you got to go through a lot of videos and breakdowns and Wikipedia pages and stuff like that to get the historical account of certain things and to get a greater understanding. I want to say a big tawada to this brother here, Harwan Ban Yasharala from the GMS Lion Den camp for putting together this playlist here, Daniel 7th chapter breakdown. If you brothers want some edification on Daniel chapter 7, then I would suggest going to his page here, GMS Lions Den, and going through it. Now, I tried to watch this video a couple times, and this damn demon of sleep just kept coming over me and kept trying to make me go to sleep. And so I understood the first beast, because he did a couple of parts. Like if you want the full history, it's there, man. He did like 1 and part 2, and then part 3 is still dealing with Nebuchadnezzar. So all these 3 are basically dealing with the first beast and giving you back history on the first beast and all that. And then when you get to the heck, even this one's dealing with it. I didn't even click on this one yet because I was like, all right, let me go ahead and get to the second beast, because like I said, that demon kept messing with me on trying to make me go to sleep. But Nabonidus was the last king of Babylon, the exiled father of Belshazzar. But one of the things I gathered while watching the brother's video is that if you were to look in Daniel chapter 5, right, and right here when they're, let's see, I think it was an angel Daniel brought before the king. Okay, Daniel's talking to the king, right? And he's saying, "O thou king, the most high God gave Nebuchadnezzar thy father a kingdom and majesty and glory and honor." So you would be confused, like, what do you mean Nebuchadnezzar, or what do you mean Nabonidus was the last king and he was Belshazzar's father? Well, I gathered from looking at all this stuff that Nebuchadnezzar was simply a title. Nebuchadnezzar simply means, let me pull it out here. I looked it up previously, and that's the spirit I didn't close it. So when you look at that word Nebuchadnezzar, it means may Nebo protect the crown, and Nebuchadnezzar, Salaki, let me see. Okay, click play on this next beat. But Nebuchadnezzar is a title that the worshippers of Nebu, when they became king, whatever the king was at that particular time, they took on this title Nebuchadnezzar, which means may Nebo protect the crown, because that's who they worship. Nebu or Nebo, that was their deity. And so it's a title. So when you look at it here in Daniel 5, and it says that his father was Nebuchadnezzar, that was the title that his father had taken on. Oh, the Most High gave Nebuchadnezzar thy father a kingdom, and for the majesty that he gave him, all people, nations, languages trembled in fear before him. Who he would he slew, and whom he would he kept alive, and whom he would he set up, and whom he would he put down. But when his heart was lifted up and his mind hardened in pride, he was deposed from his kingly throne, and they took his glory from him. And he was driven from the sons of men, and his heart was made like the beasts, and his dwelling was with the wild asses. This happened to Belshazzar's father. See, and you look at 22, and thou his son, O Belshazzar, has not humbled thine heart, though thou knewest all this. So when you look at this, the Bible's not going off. Nebuchadnezzar is a title that was given to him. It was given to Nabonidus, the father of Belshazzar. And even though the Bible says King Belshazzar, Belshazzar didn't receive the title Nebuchadnezzar because he didn't actually fully gain the kingdom. His father actually returned once his senses came back to him, you know? So Belshazzar was slain, and Darius the Median took the kingdom, being about 62 years old. So when you look at Darius the Median and you try to go into the history, you'll be like, there's no recorded person named Darius the Median being the first, as being the first king, being the one who took over the kingdom, But you have to understand that this title Darius is also talking about, is also a title, So we're going to get into that. So that was the Nebuchadnezzar, understand. So Darius, according to, and the reason I'm talking about this is because the Medo-Persian Empire is who took over. It just said what? Darius the Mede took the kingdom, right? So we have to understand that was the next kingdom in line. The first kingdom was the lion with the wings that was given the heart of a man, made to stand up on 2 feet. The wings were plucked off, but that represent Babylon, as we linked it up with Daniel 2, Daniel 2. Let's see, I thought I had it open. Yeah, Daniel 2. In Daniel 2, it's represented as the head of the statue. So we're not going to go back too far. I'm just going to show the images. The image's head was a fine gold. And then when you look here, and wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field, the fowls of heaven, he hath given unto thy hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold. So he was talking to Nebuchadnezzar. He told Nebuchadnezzar, hey, you are the head of gold. Remember, Nebuchadnezzar means Nebu, protect the crown. All right. So it was a title. All right. So when we hear about the second beast, I think I might have went too far. Okay. All right. Now, this is the second one. And after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth, and the fourth kingdom shall be as strong as iron. So they said there was going to be another kingdom that was going to rise up after Babylon. So we're talking about the kingdom that took over the Babylonians, and that kingdom is the Medo-Persian Empire. Darius the Mede took the kingdom, and the Medes and the Persians they were connected. And you can prove that by reading here in Daniel chapter 9, just to show you that now of course history tells you that they had they were joined together. Salakia, make sure it's 9. It might not be 9. No, it's 7. I mean, it's Daniel chapter 8, Salakia. All right. And let's see here. So this is a dream that we can read this. In the 3rd year of the reign of King Belshazzar, a vision appeared unto me, even unto me, Daniel, after that which appeared unto me at the first. And I saw a vision, and it came to pass, when I saw that I was at Shushan in the palace, which is in the province of Elam, and I saw in the vision, and I was by the river of Ulai. Then I lifted mine eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns, and the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other. So what does this sound like? All right, we're going to go to the beast here. All right, Daniel 7. And behold, another beast, a second beast, like to a bear, and it raised itself up on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said, thus unto it arise and devour much flesh. But we're going here, and it raised up itself on one side. So like I said, what that means is one side of it, one like shoulder of it was higher than the other. One part was stronger than the other, and this is talking about that same beast. But in this particular situation, it's a ram. Then I lifted up my eyes and saw, and behold, there stood before the river a ram which had 2 horns, and the 2 horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last. The higher came into rulership last, because if you look at let me see here. I had downloaded a map from the brother's video. So let me see if I can find that. So if I'm not mistaken, the brother was saying that Darius the Mede, he was a Median, but he ruled in Persia, if I'm not mistaken. And as you can see, Media is bigger than Persia. But we're just going to keep going. I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, so that no beast might stand before him, neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand. But he did according to his will and became great, So this beast, the ram here, is the same as this bear. See, and it raised itself up on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, and between the teeth of it. And they said, thus unto it, arise and devour much flesh. And like it said here in Daniel 8, the ram pushing westward and northward and southward, that no beast might stand before him, neither was there any that could deliver out of his hand. But he did according to his will and became great. So when you go back to that map that I had open right here, there's Egypt over here, Lydia over here. He pushed it westward. He pushed out in all directions. He destroyed Lydia, Babylon, and Egypt. They took over all 3 of these. This represents the 3 ribs in the mouth of the bear. Lydia, Babylon, Egypt, and of course Media and Persia were tied up until one side was taken out, and then it just became one kingdom. But anyway, I saw the ram pushing westward and northward and southward. Westward, northward, and southward. Persia. Nobody could stand. They took Persia, they took Babylon, they took Lydia and Egypt, but these 2 were together. So this don't count as one of the ribs, because it was one of the horns, you see. But Lydia and Babylon and Egypt, they took over those. That represents the 3 ribs in the bear's mouth. Salakia, if I'm repeating myself, I'm gonna try to make it. Hopefully this is edifying. I'm just gonna continue. And behold, another beast, a second like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had 3 ribs in the mouth of it, between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, arise, devour much flesh. So, that's, like I said, that's those 3 ribs. Neo-Babylonia, or Babylon, Lydia, and Egypt. All right, so we're going to continue. Back to Daniel 8. And as I was considering, behold, an he-goat came from the west on the face of the whole earth, and it touched not the ground, and the goat had a notable horn between its eyes. And he came to the ram that had 2 horns, which I had seen standing before the river, and ran unto him in the fury of his power. And I saw him come close unto the ram, and he was moved with choler, or with anger, against him, and smote the ram, and brake his 2 horns. And there was no power in the ram to stand before him, but he cast him down to the ground and stamped upon him, and there was none that could deliver the ram out of his hand. Therefore the he-goat waxed very great, and when he was strong, let's see if I can just get to the understanding of it. I'm gonna just go to 15, because there's a lot more in here, and it gets into the 3rd beast, but we're focusing on the 2nd beast right now. And it came to pass, when even I, Daniel, had seen the vision and sought for the meaning, then behold, there stood before me as the appearance of a man. And I heard a man's voice between the banks of Ulai, which called and said, Gabriel, make this man to understand the vision. So he came near where I stood, and when he came, I was afraid and fell upon my face. But he said unto me, understand, O son of man, for the time of the end shall be the vision. So part of this is an end time prophecy. Now as he was speaking with me, I was deep. I was in a deep sleep on my face toward the ground, but he touched me and set me upright. And he said, Behold, I will make thee know what shall be in the last end of the indignation, for at the time appointed, the end shall be. The ram which thou sawest having two horns are the kings of Media and Persia. You know? So when you go right here, now hopefully it's becoming clearer. And behold, another beast, a second like to a bear, and it raised up itself on one side, and it had three ribs in the mouth of it between the teeth of it. And they said thus unto it, Arise, devour much flesh. So when you go up here to the top, up towards the top of Daniel 8, you look at 3, behold, there stood before the river a ram which had two horns, and the two horns were high, but one was higher than the other, and the higher came up last. And behold, another beast, a second like to a bear, and it raised itself up on one side, and it had three ribs in the mouth of it. You know, so part of this kingdom was stronger than the other part of the kingdom. You know, it was lifted up on one side. And let's see, this will probably be a good picture to show you right here. See how one of the shoulders looks stronger than the other? It looks higher than the other. You know, it's like how you got those shoulder blades in your back and you like can lift up one side or the other. Or like when you see a lion crouch down about to jump and he like shifts his shoulders from left to right. And at one particular moment, one shoulder hunch or one shoulder blade is higher than the other, you know? Let me see if I can get a demonstration of it. But it's like, that's what it means when it says one side was lifted up higher than the other, you know, for the bear. And then it tells you, let me just see if I can find something. Let's see. Maybe a lion wouldn't be a good one because lions ain't that sneaky. He's probably just gonna run at him. Yeah. Even if you just look at how a cat walks, how it walks. You see how at certain times in its walking, one shoulder gets lifted up higher than the other. It shifts, you know. I don't know if I'm gonna really be able to find like a GIF. May not be able to find, but if you pay attention to a cat, you see that they like shift weight between each shoulder. Before they actually attack. Salakia, I was just trying to find a visual representation, but as you see in the scriptures, right here, it raised itself up on one side, had three ribs in the mouth. And when you look here in Daniel 8, it had two horns. Salakia. And the two horns were high, but one was higher than the other. Salakia. Got an advertisement. Okay, skip the advertisement now. Okay. And Salaki, I guess I should have just linked it up with Daniel 2 to begin with. So when you go to Daniel 2 and you look at the second part of the statue, because all this ties together. The image's head was of fine gold. That's the Babylonian kingdom. The next kingdom, his breast and his arms of silver. See, it's representing the second kingdom in its two parts, breasts and arms. That's the chest and the arms. You see, it's two pieces working together, just like a second like to a bear, and it raised itself up on one side. It's talking about like his two shoulders, one side being higher than the other, one side being stronger than the other. And then when you go to Daniel 8, two horns, and the two horns were high, but one was higher than the other. So hopefully that's clear about that second beast. And then when you go down to the bottom here, it tells you the ram which thou sawest having two horns are the kings of Media and Persia, you know. So that's, you know, that's just part of the way that you know. So let's get into this whole title thing about Darius being a title, you know, because there are some people who will say, oh, the Bible going off because there is nobody recorded named Darius, you know, taking over the kingdom from Belshazzar or from Nabonidus, you know. So let's look at what the word Darius means. When you go into the etymology of the name Darius, it says the name is a nominative form, you know. Salakia. Now I just looked this up. Yeah, it's over here. All right. A nominative form, meaning he who holds firm the goodness, which can be seen by the first part, daraya, meaning holder, and the verb vow, meaning goodness. So it's a nominative form, you know. So what does nominative mean? Nominative means nominated or appointed by nomination, you know, or bearing a person's name. So it's like, okay, I had another definition of nominative as well, but I don't see it. Let's see. Yeah, let's go back. And let's get another definition as well. Of or appointed by nomination as distinct from election, you know. Relating to naming, translation of Greek, naming case. You know, it's in a nominative form, but it's just basically a title. It's he who holds firm the goodness, you know, because when you look at here, Darius the Third, right? Darius the Third, originally named Artashata and called Kodomanus by the Greeks, was the last king of the Achaemenid Empire of Persia. Artashata adopted Darius as a dynastic name. His empire was unstable with large portions, but the point is he adopted the name Darius. Darius is a title, you know. Darius is a title, just like the name Xerxes is a title. Xerxes means ruling over heroes, and you got to look at it because there was Xerxes, and then there were Dariuses. There were people named Darius giving birth to people who were calling themselves Xerxes. You know, right here it says Xerxes the Great, fourth king of the Achaemenid dynasty of Persia, like his predecessor Darius the First. You know, so Darius the First was his predecessor. Who was his father? Because I said that Darius was his father, but I just want to make sure. Okay. King of the Persians. Salakia. What is that advertisement? Yeah, I'm just playing some beats on YouTube. Salakia, bros. Hopefully it's not just too distracting. I just want to try to, you know, make it more interesting. Yeah. All right. So his name was Xerxes. His father was Darius the First. See. So that's what I'm saying. Cause after this, he had a son, I believe, and he named his son. I think his son became Darius the second. Let me see. Okay. Children. Darius. By Queen Amestris, Darius the firstborn, murdered by Artaxerxes. So his son's name was Darius, but he was murdered by Artaxerxes. You know, and the Bible talks about Artaxerxes, but we ain't gonna go too deep into that. I just wanted to show you how Darius is a title. You know, Darius is a title, and that's why when you read the scriptures and it says it was taken by Darius the Mede, you know, it is the truth. You know, that Darius was that title. Darius the Median took the kingdom, being about 62 years old, meaning he was 62. But yeah, Salakia, I've been all over the place trying to link this up, you know, through the scriptures and different examples, but hopefully it's understood, you know, that the second beast represents the Medo-Persian Empire, you know, and that's why the different depictions represent two separate things. The only one that is not clearly representing two parts is the bear, but it says that one side was lifted up higher than the other, you know. And behold, another beast, a second like to a bear, and it raised itself up on one side. So that means one of the sides was lower than the other. So that shows you the two sides of the same bear. One was higher than the other, you know. Two horns, the ram with the two horns, are the king of Medo and Persia. So there's two horns on the same animal, you know. And then Daniel 2, the image's head was of fine gold, the breast and his arms of silver. So two parts, same color, same kingdom. See, same metal, same kingdom, two parts, breast and arms. So hopefully that's clear. I'm going to give all honor, glory, and praise to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahushai, Ba'ashem, Rakakadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. And much love to you brothers out there preaching the truth and sincerity. With that, I'll say Shalom.